Ever.
I hope the show goes better than my day.
You can hear, but you can't see. We're in the dark.
Yeah.
We forgot to pay the power bill. Biggest show of our lives, and we forgot to pay the power bill. There we are. That's not better.
Mike, I got to tell you, we didn't social distance properly because we had to do a special handoff.
Yes.
And as I was driving home, I started getting a sore throat.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Fantastic. Great.
Yeah. But, you're not sometimes, I guess sometimes what?
We're going to be ingesting stuff that was touched by each of us.
Yeah, I know.
No, that's okay, though.
Rob, did you
make my attack dogs.
Did you make the guacamole yourself, Rob?
Unlike Mike, yes. Mm-hmm. I did make the guac. Mike, I made it this morning.
Come on, Mike. Step up.
Yeah. I'm the problem, Lee. Who made yours, Lee?
Huh?
Who made yours, Lee?
Your mic's cutting out.
No, it's not.
All right, fine.
Was I the only loser that actually made the guacamole?
Yes. Angie made mine. I mashed the avocado a little bit with a fork.
So I'm fighting against two women basically, and some other area. The competition's really against me against your wives. Well, no, a wife and a daughter.
Yeah. Right. Do you guys remember
there was nothing accurate about that statement at all. It was you couldn't have been less accurate.
How did I get it wrong?
It's not even
it's you against our wives.
It's me against a wife and a daughter.
It's not a wife.
I'm not married to Angie.
Oh, Angie made it for you.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Oh, well then okay, so your work wife.
Okay.
Is that safe? Can I call her work wife?
Rob's my work wife.
I have no control over what you say, right?
That's not going to upset Maureen, right? I mean, there is a concept of a work wife.
We'll find out in the comments if she throws in a comment. We'll find out.
All right, so I'm against Angie and Delaney.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That'll be interesting.
So why is this the biggest show of our lives? Do we know?
Because we have a very what's the right word? Prominent
guest.
Do we?
With very high integrity.
Who might that be?
Hey.
Well, there it is.
How we doing?
Hola, Padre.
Hola, ¿cómo estamos?
There's the man.
Yes, we were just talking about how this is the biggest show of our lives.
The biggest show of our life, and he just pops in out of nowhere.
Isn't that crazy?
What does Bente Uno? What's that for?
That's Roberto Clemente. I figure we're doing some
nice
type of stuff here. Come on, man.
In the game. That's right. Representing.
Yeah. So I have, all priests have a Clemente wall because he was Catholic. He was a martyr for charity. Greatest baseball player in Pittsburgh history. So there's lots of reasons to be a Clemente fan.
That's fantastic.
Well, is it true that he's some people have him on the track towards sainthood? That people are trying to.
There's a rumor going around. If we had a bishop with his head on, they would have already applied for his canonization. But we have to wait for the next bishop to get his head screwed on to see if that'll happen.
And you can say that here because literally no one watches us.
Yeah, our viewership is going to go up by at least a factor of 5 by having Father Jay on here. It depends on what Father Jay's reaction is after the show. He's like, you know what? Don't tell anybody that I was on here. I don't want anybody to know. That was a total embarrassment.
Yeah, but 5 times 0 doesn't improve our numbers, Rob.
Yeah,
I know. That's true.
That's great. Now, how do you guys know each other?
Good question.
Yeah, who wants to answer that?
So I'm the tie-in between Lee and Mike. Lee and Mike both indirectly walked me through my faith through Catholicism. Mike is a close friend that I had that he jumped to Catholicism ahead of me, and I thought he was nuts at the time. And he's just like, hey, I'm going to be Catholic. And I'm like, what? Why are you going to do that? He's like, wow. And it was just all nonchalant. Yeah, I'm going to RCIA. I'm like, what's that? And when I decided to become Catholic later on, so Mike planted a seed for that. Lee was, did a good job. And Lee was one of my leaders in RCIA.
Wow.
Yeah.
Leader.
Yeah.
I saw the finger quotes as you said, leaders. I saw
No,
they
he's
were
an
off
excellent
screen,
leader.
but I saw them.
Although it was funny though, Lee and I, we on during our CIA, we served at what was that?
Produce to people.
Produce to People.
Yeah.
And Lee and I, well, at least I'll say even though in front of people I look like I'm an extrovert, but privately I'm an introvert. I don't go out of my way to meet people.
Really?
And yeah, I mean, I it's just, it exhausts me. But then Lee and I were standing opposite each other. We never really talked that much during our CIA. It was early on.
Yeah, I was helping some old woman take her fruit to her car or something, and I turned around and I was face to face with Rob, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, I'm like, oh gosh,
this
if we gonna have
guy.
to talk to
What's
each
his
other
name?
for a minute."
I don't remember his name. Hi.
Yeah. So, but the funny thing is, but then
Is Mike the extrovert in this group then?
I think he's sort of introverted too.
Yeah,
That's why we have no viewers. We're all introverts.
I was just gonna say we need to mix it up here, guys.
Oh no,
That's why you're here, Father.
that's the thing. If we talk to lots of people, in theory, we like doing that. It's just when we have to do direct social contact with one-on-one, that's where it gets a little tough.
Well, no, I mean the reason why I asked the first question, I love the fact that you guys came together and just for God and the church. That's really exciting.
It is,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's really cool from that point of view, because Lee kind of said, you know what, why don't we just kick around an idea for first it was a small group, and then we kicked around the idea for a podcast. And Mike and I always kick around ideas for things, and we drug him along, and the rest was history. We've been doing this for how long?
It's our second season, but it's like the third year we've been doing this. Season, very loose terminology.
Yeah.
Episode.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the 50s, I think, for our episodes.
Yeah, we've done a lot. Yeah, we've shared a lot of useless garbage for 50 shows at least.
We've got twice as many episodes as Father Jay has on his podcast, but we have about a quarter of the listens. So
yeah, exactly.
Well, Lee's been guiding me through some great stuff. It's been a lot of fun.
It's great. I mean, we've all been big fans of you, Father Jay, and we've actually did a lot of studying about you. What was important about, at least from my point of view, to bring someone like you.
Here, did you know that?
Dos Equis.
Nice.
I figure for the taste test we're going to do, I needed to have some type of way of just getting the palate going.
And that's the important part of it. But we want to really, I mean, we want to focus on some things that you probably have shared numerous times, but the human aspect of like what you do in your private time, the fun stuff, we really wanted to focus on the other side, because sometimes a priest will come into somebody's house and they all got to like pamper you, feel like they got to pamper you and like, oh, you need to do this. We want to show what the real side of like how you're just like one of the guys too, right? Like,
right.
And so I think trying to focus on a lot of those areas while also talking about some stories that you've also shared, because we think it's really important to share some of the great things that you've done in your life. So,
yeah, and I think that's actually the reason we decided to do this podcast, was because we are all converts into Catholicism. You know, we got to see the beauty, but we also know Catholicism doesn't do a very good job of promoting itself at all. Yeah. So as far as society goes, it's almost like an arrogance where it just doesn't care about getting new people in.
Right.
I'm sure they do, but it's not obvious. So having said that, the whole idea of what we're doing is to just show people that Catholics are normal, non-judgmental, losers. Like,
yeah, you can be an idiot and still be a Catholic.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which was very much an eye opener for me, because I thought it was the opposite. I thought it was very, I mean, it does have its regiment and what you're supposed to do, but you're not supposed to be judgy on people. We all realize we're sinners.
So I think it's more of a modern phenomenon.
Yeah.
The role of the church from the Roman Empire until about the French Revolution. The church invented the university system, the hospital system, basically invented governments and invented how to run society. St. Augustine was brilliant as he was, but he basically helped run society. And the Benedictines, their role in running society. But in the last 200-300 years, with the questioning of of religion and all that, the Catholic Church has not been able to keep up with the modern means of communications. So it's more of a modern problem because the church always played a central role in major decisions that were being made. But now, obviously, we have not been able to keep up with, which is what St. John Paul II was trying to do with what they call the new evangelization, doing exactly what you guys are doing, trying to find the St. Paul ways of using roads and the modern means of Roman times, so to speak, to evangelize is what trying to do here.
Wow.
That's great.
What a comparison. Thank you.
I know. Yeah. One thing, though, I wanted to highlight is showing the beer. We wanted to mention what we were doing. This is basically guac talk with Father today, right?
Hey, you got to have your Dos Equis. It was either this or tequila, but I was like, my first start with beer. If I went with tequila, you wouldn't really find many. We won't have a lot of coherent thoughts anyway, but it was really bad.
So stay awake for the rest of this.
When did you find that guacamole was a favorite of yours? Like, was this when your time in Mexico, or?
Yeah, so I never liked vegetables. I wasn't a veggie guy at all. In fact, peas and tomatoes, salads were gross. The whole thing was disgusting.
They still
what converted me was Mexico, the Mexican vegetables and the way in which they prepare things there. I lived there for 7 years, and don't tell any Italians this. This is our secret. I lived 7 years in Italy, 7 years in Mexico. I would take a taco to pizza. I would take tequila over wine. The cuisine and the food, and especially breakfast in Mexico, there's just nothing better than that.
I agree with you on that. The taco there versus the taco here is completely different, at least from what I've gotten.
Yeah, it's a supersized beans and rice and crap like that. In a taco in Mexico, you don't have that. It's meat, sauce, and the most delicious outside tortilla that you ever have, and it melts in your mouth.
It's brilliant. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I'm surprised somebody here hasn't figured that out, because if they made that here, that would be huge.
They're trying to. They call it street tacos, but that name doesn't really appetize you.
No.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No.
So kind of a street taco is about as close as you'll get to that. But the real challenge, though, is like, so I have a priest buddy here. He prefers McDonald's to Wendy's because McDonald's kind of browns their buns, so to speak. They cook their buns a bit. And I think same with tacos. The key to good tacos having a good tortilla, and it's hard to get homemade tortillas.
Wow. Well, sticking with Mexico for a while, one thing that just to compare you to me, and you blow me away on this. I went to one of your Spanish services before.
Oh,
and I've done. I've had 6 or 7 years of school with Spanish, and my wife is Dominican. She's bilingual. She
talks
Spanish.
Mexican, right?
She speaks Mexican. Yeah. Ask her that question. She'll slap you. But one thing that I find amazing when watching your service, and that you were even telling jokes in Spanish while during the homily, you're giving the service. Everybody's laughing, and I had the problem of translation. Like, so I still translate in my head.
Yeah, that's
from English. How are you able to grasp to be fluent in Spanish? Like, what is the process? Like, what is the secret that the priests do? Because a lot of priests learn how to pick up other languages pretty fast.
I don't know if it's a process a priest did. For me, I can't learn. I can't learn language. You give me a dictionary and grammar, I won't be able to do anything. I needed to go in there. I had never studied Spanish before. And all of a sudden, you want to eat. So, pásame el ketchup. Yo necesito un tenedor. Quiero un vaso de vino. And so you start putting words together. I probably can't teach Spanish or the grammar, but you get a quick crash course when you're there. And then the second thing is that I ended up working with high school and college kids. And if you've been around kids, if you can't catch jokes and be able to work in their name and language, then you're not going to be. So all of my preaching is based on how do I make funny jokes so that they can kind of keep engaged. And so a priest from Ireland actually taught me that. He felt like one of the best mediums to preach is through getting people to laugh, because when you laugh, you relax, you're open, and then there people know, hey, we're going to enjoy ourselves. We might have some tough subjects to handle, and that's what Mexican culture is. It really is a fun culture to be a part of. They love laughing. Everything turns into a party down there, which is the way life should be.
When you're speaking, are you translating in your head, or is your word? Are you thinking Spanish?
Yeah. Sometimes I dream in Spanish, actually.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's what you have to turn the click. You can't sit there and say, okay, gorra, negro, black hat.
Yeah.
You just have to start just jumping in. If you don't know it, then try to find out what that is, and then you start wrestling with phrases.
So it's almost
Rob,
like
you
an
should-
added word to your vocabulary. You're adding words to your vocabulary that just happen to be Spanish words rather than English words, and stringing them together almost.
Yeah, but you're not memorizing them like you did in second grade. Like this.
Yeah.
You're putting them in the context of an experience. So
Yeah.
you're tagging them with an emotional charge, which help you
Wow.
to learn a word. Like
Rob,
the first
you-
word I ever learned was cubole. So
Yeah, right.
I had to give a speech or something. I forget what it was. And this priest was a real jokester from Spain. He's like, look, the first time you speak, just start with the word cubole amigos, and then you'll be great. And I couldn't even say the word. The fact I could say it now is a miracle. And basically, it's Bugs Bunny's "What's Up, Doc."
Oh, that's great.
You can impress your wife today by just saying cubole.
There you go.
Keep it. I'll have
Rob, I
to
was
do
going
that.
to
I'll have
suggest
to
you
throw
and
that-
Alex should like do
Yeah.
Spanish weeks at home where she speaks nothing but Spanish to you.
Yes, the whole version is the key.
That is funny, and she sounds completely different when she speaks Spanish. It rattles altogether. Her voice, her intonations change. It's like a different woman altogether. It's amazing. Yeah. So like, because she was raised that way, so she was raised in Spanish before English. So, but yeah, I just marvel on how your ability to do that.
Have you been to her hometown?
No, her family is from the Dominican Republic, but her dad was a doctor. He actually came in through the military. They had a special program at the time. If you joined the military, you would automatically get American citizenship. So he came in as a doctor in the Army, and he moved up to major, serving that way. But she lived in New England. She's a Jersey girl, so she's lived there, Connecticut. But her parents, Spanish was obviously their first language coming over, so they raised their kids. Particularly her, she was one of the oldest with Spanish first, and so she didn't learn English until she went to kindergarten.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a big change for her. But yeah, no, I think that to have the confidence you have to take another language like that and get in front of a bunch of people that's their primary language and be willing to tell jokes with the idea that it might fail and bomb. I mean, that just shows your confidence. I mean, that's just amazing, and how long did it take you to where you felt comfortable? Well, that you tried it and you got in front.
So I always remember the first time I landed in Mexico City, which I took off from New York. I flew from New York to Mexico City. New York City, you got about 11 million. Mexico City is double, and it's more spread out. So as you're flying into what they call the Valle, which is up in this mountain region, you are flying for almost 20 minutes over the city. And there's no stopping it. It's like you're on an ocean of human beings. Anyway, I ended there. It was August 15th, and they did a nice picnic lunch for me when I arrived with all these priests. And I couldn't say a word in Spanish. And so I'm just like, this sucks.
Yeah.
You start scrambling around. I would say by around late November, I started to feel somewhat capable. So it took me about, I don't know, was that 3 months or so? And then I felt by Christmas, I was getting into the rhythm. And then that speech that I gave was probably around January or so.
Wow.
It's fascinating.
But again, it's such a different story when it's full immersion. I mean, there's one other person that spoke English. So, you just have to pick it up. Now, well, obviously what helps as well is the mission. Like, I'm not just sitting there. Like, the part would be hard for you, Rob, if you said, okay, honey, let's just do a week in Spanish. Well, there's no real finality to that other than just trying to learn Spanish. Yeah. Where for me, it was like, no, you have 300 high school kids you're in charge of. You're going to be planning a mission trip, and you're doing weekend retreats, and someday you're going to be a priest. You're going to have to do all. So there was an immediate need for it. I think it's kind of like Evgeny Malkin when he came here. He needed to learn English because there he is on the side with Crosby and that. And so his English isn't great, but at least when that mission is there, then that really helps you accelerate the process.
I score many goals. That's how he used to start in his interviews. Yeah, fascinating. Another one of our favorites in the house.
So Alex should just say, Rob, you don't eat until you say something clear to me. Right?
You have to order in Spanish.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's good.
Well, that's great. So you did that for 7 years. How does a decision like that come to you, where you wound up going there, and then you change it? Is part of it? Do you have any control in the matter, or is it something where like, okay, we're ready to send you somewhere else? Like, so when you left Mexico, where did you go next?
I was actually bouncing back between 3 nations' capitals. So I spent about 7 years in Rome, 7 years in Mexico City, and a couple of years in Washington, D.C. There's 2 types of priests, basically, in the Catholic Church, if you want to really go in broad terms. One is a diocesan priest, like Pope Benedict or Bishop Zubik. They are diocesan priests. And the other are religious priests, like Pope Francis or the Benedictines. And so there's a religious priest and a diocesan priest. Diocesan priests tend to stay within a geographic circumference of their diocese, and they listen to their bishop, who is the head of the local church. Where the religious priests, the world's their playground, and they usually have one superior who would be like in a place like in Rome. So I joined the Legionaries because I was always attracted to that military style of just burn the boat and get going. So the way Mexico was basically discovered was Cortez was not discovered, but developed was Hernan Cortez got there. And one of the first things he did was, hey guys, you know, our way back is this boat. Well, let's burn it. So let's just go all in. And so that's what I was. I was a missionary for a while in modern cities, basically. So this group was called the Legionaries of Christ. And I know we had no choice of where we were going. We would to an auditorium right at the end of the school year, which was in Italy at this time when I got first sent to Mexico. It was after my second year of philosophy. It must have been mid-June. And so imagine an auditorium with 300 priests and seminarians. Your major superior gets up there and reads your name. You stand up, and he says, I went by John. So John Donahue, Mexico City, and then the place that you're living in.
It's like you're getting drafted. It's like being at the draft.
It was totally being at the draft, except they didn't have my mommy and daddy to
you get a jersey and a hat.
Yeah, or a girlfriend to give a hug to or anything at that point. But the guy next to me was hilarious. I'll never forget him. He is from the outskirts of California and probably wasn't the brightest guy in in the program. And they said, you will be going to Buenos Aires, Argentina. And he stood up, everybody claps, and he sat down and he was numb. And he looked at me, he goes, what language do they speak there? Like, he had no idea where he was going.
Yeah.
Look and see, what's Argentina? Where is it? What language am I going to be speaking?
Yeah.
So, and then he spent a couple of years down there. I loved Mexico. It was the greatest thing I ever did in preparation. Mexico is, they're people.
Yeah.
I was down there. I went down last May. This last time. I left in 2010, and almost 10 years since I'd been back, and I needed to go back, so I went back in May. And I was walking Mexico City with a couple of priest friends from Pittsburgh, and my priest buddy goes, hey, look around this city. And there's tons of, this is before social distancing, all this stuff. All the people walking around, 22 million people walking back and forth. And he goes, look around here. What do you see as different is here than you would like in New York or in Pittsburgh? We're like, well, the people are a little smaller, the Mexicans. No, nobody's looking at their cell phones. They're all talking.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, wow, that's so true. Not that they don't use cell phones, but if you look at most of our modern cities or in an airport, you're like this the whole time. Nobody's looking at them. And that's a huge difference.
That is amazing. I would have never noticed that. I was too busy, probably too busy looking at my phone.
Or drunk on the side of the road with the tequila.
Well, have you ever watched Hot Ones? The Hot One Challenge on YouTube?
No. What is it?
This isn't going to be similar, but I guess we don't want to jam the guac all the way to the end of the show. We might want to intersperse some trying. Yeah, with the Hot Ones Challenge, what they would do, and we're not doing it this way, but they'd have a series of wings, and each hot sauce would be hotter while they're interviewing somebody, and they would take a wing, talk about a couple things, and then they'd take the next one and work their way up. We never worked out what the rules were, what we're going to do with Father Jay here, but we should probably figure that out so we don't make him get full of guac right at the end.
Okay. Well, I will tell you a couple things. So,
yeah,
favorite chip to use are the Tostitos scoops. Okay, so
good stuff.
These are salted. Okay, but I felt like I needed to do another level, so I'll do 2 dips of each of them. And so I found this chip, which isn't bad. It has no salt in it. So I think I'm going to start with this one to get the salt content of it, and then do the other one, and then I'll give my judgments if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds like a plan.
We've been talking a lot of junk before this podcast but I will tell you,
what we're supposed to be doing other than enjoying guacamole.
Absolutely.
Well, we all have it as well. So we all
Yeah,
have the
we
same
have
containers
the
as you
same
do.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah, so when you're trying it, we'll try it as well.
We're gonna try it equally. Yeah.
All right. Well, I have the blue dot one first.
Okay.
And then
This one.
yes,
Okay.
there's two that look the same. It says Father J on it.
Yep.
Something. How do I know which one's which?
The
So
blue dot
it's
one
by
is
the
unique.
color
Here's
of
the
the
blue dot.
ink.
Oh, and the others have colored ink.
okay.
Oh, one's green
Yeah.
and one's black.
Yeah.
So keep those in mind.
All right. So there's a black ink Father J, a blue ink Father J, and then there's a green Tupperware.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. That was the colored ink was a dangerous thing to do though, because Father J's colorblind.
Yeah.
Oh, huh.
So I
How
don't
about
that's a
that?
I
fun
don't
fact that we didn't know.
know. So I'm glad that you kind of kept the colors pretty simple for me.
So we do. I guess the idea is while you're doing this, Father Jay, you should start ranking in your head, and if you need to write it down so you can figure out. The idea will be at the end we have an ordered ranking of which guacamole was the best to the worst, and I think we can give him some full disclosure here, right?
Yeah.
Mike, Lee, and I either made the guacamole or chickened out and had somebody they knew make it for them.
Come on.
All right. So, and then we have a fourth one
That's
that
a
was
control.
bought.
Yes.
That's a control, right? That's
Yep.
not of ours, right? So the idea. Do we want to say where that's from or no?
No, I think we should have Father J rank them,
Yeah.
Okay.
and then tell us which one is the store bought.
And I'm
Yeah.
going to follow along.
I'm going to start with the blue dot. Is that all right?
Yep.
Yeah, do it.
Any other things? So I'm going to eat two chips, and then I have my sorbet, which is the Dos Equis beer. That'll kind of cleanse the palate for me.
So here's a couple other things while we're doing this. Is interesting. Lee has never had guacamole before.
That's true.
Yeah. And I
I think I've never had anything green before.
I think I'm allergic to avocados. I haven't had one for 7 years because I used to get really sick. So
That's the wild card. There.
the
So we're
TV,
hoping.
for good TV, I might be bent over in pain, rolling around on the desk, and so
Yeah.
you guys might have to just ignore me and go
Lee,
on with
Yeah.
the show.
as I recall, you don't like vegetables.
Vegetable matter. Yeah.
But fruit, you're okay with fruit?
Yeah, except for avocado.
All right, so go for it. Dig in.
All right.
All right, here we go.
With the saltless dip first.
All right.
Let's go up.
A lot of cilantro or something in there, that green stuff. No low on salt.
I'm going to be honest. I took so little avocado, all I can taste is chip. It's a good chip, though.
What kind of chip are you using?
There are Tostitos, but they're just the full size ones.
I like the Tostitos Cantina.
My
Okay.
wife is taking
The regular chip.
taking a picture of me eating avocado because
Cool.
it's never going to happen again. That's why.
You don't like it?
With the screen so we can say hello?
What's that? Oh, Father Jay wants to say hello.
You
Is
won't.
that Maureen?
I thought she was here. She disappeared, and there's a marine cloud of smoke left in the room. I don't know.
This is good.
All right.
That's interesting. Okay, I don't hate it. I'll say that.
All right, Mike or Lee, do you have any other questions for Father Jay?
I know
About
Mike
the
has
I
some.
don't want to
Guacamole?
keep asking him a bunch of stuff, huh?
Oh, I thought you meant about the guacamole.
No, anything.
Have you guys
It's got almost a buttery texture.
Yeah.
There's like a butteriness to it.
hmm
Interesting.
Have you guys been to Mexico?
I have.
Sort of.
Tijuana.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of.
I've been to Tijuana, and we were on a cruise to Cancun one time.
Oh.
I've been to Mexico a few times. I'm a big fan. I wanted to be an avid Spanish speaker and actually travel like that. Never worked out, but
Can
my
dogs
wife
eat
flight
avocado?
attendant. What's that?
Can dogs eat avocado? My dog wants some.
Maybe.
Sure.
Yeah, that's all right.
I guess we'll find out.
No, I'm not going to. She walked away.
Oh,
Yeah. So, but I'm a huge everybody I've encountered in Mexico, very friendly, very family oriented. My wife's Latin, so the Latin. I think Italians and Latins are very similar. They're very big families, very loud, boisterous. They get together and have fun.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah, that was the blessing of living in Rome and Mexico City. You bounce back and forth, and it's a great place to go back and forth like that. You know.
Yeah. I do have a question. So, doing our research, there's a great article about your dad.
Yeah.
In the Post Gazette, and it has you and your family. Yes. This family court thing that you had.
Yeah. It was a great system.
So, yeah. Now, were you? Do you recall anything you were accused that you had to defend yourself for in the family? So, just to give some background to everybody.
Yeah.
Father Jay's part of a very large family, very prominent in Pittsburgh, very popular, wonderful family. And the article talks about that the kids and children, whenever they would get in trouble or accused of something, they would hold family court in there, and they would have to defend themselves, and whatever the outcome was, the outcome.
No lawyer, defend yourself. You weren't allowed a lawyer.
No, you could get your other brothers and sisters to be a lawyer.
Okay. And how often would you do that?
Just depended who got in trouble and if my dad and mom would allow us to go to court. So it was probably, I don't know, maybe a couple times a year or so. My one sister got a driving ticket, speeding ticket. And so our punishment for a speeding ticket was that you'd have a month without driving. However, since she was kind of, probably good looking, attractive, she was able to manage to get like the points off and this and that and go to court and all this. But my dad still felt like justice needed to be served. So we took that to court. And so I got to represent her, and we won that case.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Congratulations.
That's a brilliant way to get your kids to learn. I mean, how to not only, become adult, into the real world, but to learn how to debate, set up an argument. I could see how that really tied in to where you love. Did you enjoy philosophy?
Yeah, I loved
it. You
mentioned. I did. I at first I thought I would hate it, but I think one of the best things about philosophy that I liked was just learning to ask questions. I think that's what philosophy teaches you, is that the more you learn, the less you know, and the more you just want to be able to ask questions and get curious. Because when you look at Thomas Aquinas, who's probably the smartest man that we could ever read or whatever, all he did was ask questions. And he stuck with the questions. I think today the hardest thing for me is how superficial I get, just because it's a quick text or a quick this, and you're skimming the surface rather than a submarine and going down and really diving into a theme. And to be honest, that's what I was hoping. I'm still praying that we can do this. Lee's really helped me launch this Exploring Catholicism. And there's this guy on TV. His name is, there it is. Hey, there you go.
Wow.
Life and Levin or whatever. And I just like the way this guy takes a theme and with one person just tries to, go into it rather than just skating all around. And philosophy helps you kind of ask that why and go deep, 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 deep until you can get to the real core of things. So yeah, I enjoyed philosophy. I actually have my master's in philosophy. Not that you can.
Yeah, that's excellent. I mean, we've read, I don't know if you've heard of Jordan B. Peterson, but
sure, yeah.
Bishop Barron actually had a good interview with him as well, but he gets really deep, but he makes it in a way that's he can explain it, because I'm not somebody that can get really technical from a philosophical standpoint or understand what Nietzsche or Jung or even Aquinas getting into depth, but he has an ability to pull up that information to laymen like me to understand it, at least to get me to that next layer where I kind of go where explaining. But Jordan has an amazing way of explaining the Bible from a philosophical and psychological perspective that I never even imagined but it's actually helped me appreciate the Bible and the depth that it's sharing, not just the words, but what's behind the words and the depth of those stories that are coming out. But I have a whole new appreciation for philosophy than I used to, just by listening to people like that.
I also like the way Aquinas, so everybody gives the medieval thought and the Dark Ages bad rap. But what he would do is, and this is how he kind of developed the Summa, was he would get in there and they could ask him any questions. And so they would have these tremendous moments with these great professors where everything was fair game. And it was through that type of thought process that he started to develop this kind of question. And then he started to understand better the arguments against his beliefs than the people that could argue against his beliefs. Like the existence of God or all these love with virtues, all these types of things. And so it's a beautiful, it's a tremendous way to go about your life, to really understand what would people say against this and understand the other side almost as well as the people that agree against it. And philosophy teaches you that, I think.
Rob, we should
if you want, I don't remember what day it was, but I failed, but I tried. I used to love St. Anselm and his ontological argument for the existence of God. And I never did this before, but in the homily, I'm like, you know what? I don't give a crap if somebody understands this or not. I'm going to talk about the ontological argument for the existence of God, because today is St. Anselm's Day, in honor of this Benedictine who lived 1,000 years ago. And I rarely do this because I try to be super practical, sports-oriented and stuff. I'm like, we're diving into this. And I don't think anybody understood it, but I did get one comment back and saying, hey, it's good to hear the ontological argument of Anselm. So I don't think I did it justice. So.
We should probably hit guac number 2.
Yeah, hit guac number 2. Which one are you going to pick?
The black Father J ink.
Father J.
Black ink.
Yeah, I think one thing that Jordan Peterson mentioned that goes along, to argue what you did was actually a good thing. He's surprised on how he can have discourse for over 3 hours on something, a detailed philosophical argument like that, and how many people are actually interested in listening to it. In the media culture that we're in.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
And more people would do that. I think that type of deep thinking.
Yeah.
Needed today. The banter that goes back and forth without proper listening.
Yeah.
And an honest search for the truth. Not you're a jerk because you live in Pittsburgh or you're a Ravens fan. Let's objectively look at a subject and respect each other's opinion. And just allow the subject to emerge rather than, all these arguments against the actual human being saying the stuff.
Right.
Which is what the news unfortunately does today. The 24-hour news cycle, CNN, Fox News, all these guys. You don't really get into real dialogue. Rarely. They have their point of view, and they're going to use you to get them to either show you how stupid you are and cut you off, or how And that's what this type of forum is such a good forum. To have healthy, honest dialogues.
You're dead on. I was actually one of Jordan's podcasts yesterday. He was explaining the death of media and what a Time magazine used to look like in 1974 versus now. That it mostly was text, and it was detailed. There was hardly any pictures in it. People were paid to review the text to make sure it was accurate, and it would go really deep. And he says, if you look at a Time magazine right now, they don't pay their journalists because they can't afford to pay them. And they don't get double checked. There's tons of pictures in it. And what's killing the media, he believed, which was also a good thing, though. He said there's bad that comes with it. There was some good with having media where everybody had the attention of a focused area. But what podcasts and YouTube has enabled was people for free can get online and have a discourse. Any number of people, millions of people can jump on and listen, and we don't get charged for it. And the television is in competition with that. So for them to get advertising revenue, they can only stay on sound bites. They can't have lengthy discussions for an hour. No advertiser wants to pay for that. And so it's basically dumbed down the discourse we have through that medium.
Well, like today, for example, Lee sent me a quote from "Oh Captain, My Captain," and it made me think about that Walt Whitman poem and go back over it. I hadn't read that in a long time, and poetry helps the brain also focus in on just a couple thoughts and drill down, because each word has such depth to it, because every word is so wordsmithed in order to build the whole project of a poem.
I don't know who Walt Whitman is. I thought Robin Williams said it.
Oh my God! You're just going to destroy my image that I had of you.
Wow, he had a positive image of Lee. That's maybe we need to talk to Father J more, Mike, so we can do the same thing.
5 minutes. That's all we need.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we had the second one.
Yeah.
Any footnotes on that one?
It's better than the one before.
Wow. All right.
I agree. I like that one better.
Yeah. Has a little creamier sense to it. The balance of there's some onions in there with the avocado is good, but it still lacks my favorite ingredient, so it's still okay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Is your favorite ingredient onion by chance?
No, I don't like. No, that's the biggest mistake that guacamole makers make. Is you usually get them in restaurants. Is a ton of onions.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You do that because you walk away and you feel like you just ate, the onions rings or something like that. I'm like, I don't want it. I mean, I like onion rings, but I don't want onion rings. I actually want guacamole. So I'm a big fan of a lot of onions and guacamole. Yeah.
Mike, I think you had some kind of off the wall questions for Father Jay, didn't you?
Yeah, fire away.
Didn't you have one or two like?
I was kind of hoping they'd just kind of
Organically.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing I'm better at than ruining the flow of a show.
Clearly.
So let's just see if they come up.
I have some funny one. I mean, I can head it down that direction.
Go ahead, Rob.
All right. So going over your vocation, when you came to your vocation, there was a couple. I love the story of you being on the plane with the person that was challenging you at the back of the plane.
Yeah.
And just, I guess, to give everybody a general idea, you could tell the story a lot better than me, but basically you being, I'm assuming you're the oldest in your of siblings, right? And you draw the short stall and had to sit in the back of the plane.
I'm the oldest son, so I always had to draw the short straw. Yes, my dad was smart. He wouldn't let his older daughters sit back in the back of a plane with a crazy guy.
Yes, you should tell the story about like who this person was and what he was doing with you. I think you'd tell it better than I would.
Well, we were headed on our family vacation, and I have 5 sisters and 2 brothers. So if my parents were 10, and my dad had bought basically all the seats in a row up near the front. And for some reason, only 9 tickets showed up. And so a 10th got bounced to the back, and I got voluntold to go to the back. And this was the day of the Sony Walkman. You remember the yellow Sony Walkman? That's what I had. And I had Guns N' Roses in. I was pissed because I'm like, this is terrible. I have to go to the back of the plane. And we're all up there. I was like, woe is me. You can imagine, it's just crazy. And so anyway, I sit back in the back, and I must have had like a sweatshirt or Central Catholic on. I was a junior at Central Catholic. And this guy sits next to me dressed up in golf uniform. And he starts to quiz me. Oh, you go to Central Catholic, blah, blah, blah. It was a pretty long flight. So he started to debate me on everything on the Catholic Church. And I was defending Mary, the Pope, anti-abortion, the whole, all the Catholic stuff. And we got, pretty long on the flight. And in fact, I think we're almost coming down. The landing gear had come. And he looks at me and he goes, "You're going to become a priest someday." And I'm like, I'd never thought about being a priest before then. And I told him I would jump out of an airplane before I would ever become a priest again. And he goes, "I was just playing the devil's advocate. I'm actually the chaplain at Villanova."
Yeah. Does he know? The one question I have you met him since then?
No, I wrote him a letter and I was going to become a priest. But, I can't remember his name. And we actually had a chaplain from Villanova come to our Boldly Catholic Speaker series. Lee, was that in the fall?
Yes.
Yeah. And I asked him, but I couldn't remember, and I didn't get the name at that point. So he was the chaplain at Villanova College.
It just shows you the seed planting, though, is just amazing.
No,
how little things like that along the way.
And what I learned from that was if you drive around the Pittsburgh area, all of a sudden you'll see a yellow Kennywood sign. And it tells you. And you're like, I'm not going to Kennywood. In fact, if you go to the Eaton Park, a men's room, it says Kennywood open. And
right.
All of a sudden these random signs just show up. And so to me, when somebody's thinking about getting married or thinking about priesthood or whatever, the question becomes, where are those Kennywood signs? Like, God plants these signs in your life. And the question is, what are they pointing to? And it just takes us moments to kind of reflect on turning points or moments that just really strike our memory. I love doing this with married couples, with engaged couples. One of the first things I'll do is I say, how do you know God's calling you to get married? And that's a fun thing to ask a guy.
I can totally imagine.
All day, if you ever watch Fletch, it's like him in the airplane. All ball bearings these days. You know that, guys. So you get all this stuff. I said, all right, don't worry. We're going to do this. So we map out their life. When were you born? Where'd you go to high school? How'd you guys meet? Blah, blah. And now start filling in the blanks. Look at your own history of relationships. Who were your parents for you? How did you come to the thought that you were going to get married? What are the signs God's placed in your life? and where they play.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I thought Mike was going to lead to this question, but the part that we picked up is: are you still a Guns N' Roses fan? If not, what are you listening to now? What is on your playlist?
Good question. Oh yeah, I love
Walk number 3.
Okay, good. Walk 3. Yep.
Appetite for Destruction is a great concept. In fact, right before I joined the priesthood, they came to Three Rivers Stadium, and I'm glad I didn't get videotaped for that concert. So, it was a fun concert. I almost got kicked out of Three Rivers. But Dave Matthews Band would be one of my favorites. He's on my playlist, and the reason is that he.
Yeah.
So the reason is that he started one of the places that he first played was at our fraternity in Charlottesville.
Oh wow!
I couldn't believe that when you told that story that you guys could actually pay to get him to come play, right?
Well, he was just a college band, so it was like $40, and he'd come down to your fraternity and play. It wasn't a big deal.
Was it the same level? I mean, was it? See him in that direction?
No, it was amazing. Yeah, we were crazy with him. And then he'd play at a bar called Tracks for like a couple bucks. And this was back in the day, the cassette tapes. So you get your cassette recorder, put it near him, and he'd be like, "Yeah, you didn't care." So and he would play the music and say, "What do you guys think of this?" And so that was a lot of fun. I've gotten into like Andrea Bocelli. I really like him.
Yes.
There, I love classical music, and Tchaikovsky would be one of my favorites. The Romeo and Juliet, 20 minutes of that. Oh man, that just makes my heart race. Just love Tchaikovsky and the emotion behind what Tchaikovsky can put on. But I love Rush and some of the great. I think that and I probably grew up liking Jim Morrison and the Doors, and going back and forth between that and then when that's probably it. I liked Eric Clapton for a long time. I thought he was good too. Well.
Which guac is guac number 3? I want to know which one to eat
Blue
next.
Father J.
The other, okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Easily the worst one. I don't know who made this one. This is terrible.
Wow.
Least amount.
Wow.
But
This is the green one.
The one, the other color marker.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't. No, I'm not eating any more of that. That's for sure. Hold on 1 second.
He's gonna go throw that up.
Oh,
there we go. The cat.
Say hi.
Laser
That's my kitty cat. She was knocking at the door.
What's her name?
Philomena. Say hello.
Oh wow.
So I think you said on one of your interviews, I can't remember who you were interviewing, but you had mentioned that you have an automatic cat feeder.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Uh-huh.
Like, is it mechanical? And
no, it's based on an app. You just hit it, and it'll give an eighth of the food, a half a cup, or and then so you can feed her from wherever I am in the world. It's just on Wi-Fi.
well, that's pretty neat.
The problem with it is that she sometimes can pound it, and it'll come out automatically. So she's pretty smart. So I had to I don't use that system anymore. But
So Angie,
it's on Wi-Fi, and you program it, which was great because don't tell anybody this, but you could leave for a week and the cat would be fine.
that's amazing.
I have one.
Okay.
I have a cat. Oh yeah, I get it.
Don't you love cats for that reason? They've like I've been here for about half an hour or so, and she could have cared less, and now all of a sudden she just wants to come in and say hello.
Yep.
On her terms. Whereas a dog, I would have been knocked over instantly.
Yeah.
And that, and in fact, I like to use that as a Corona time metaphor, especially for married couples. I did this the other day, and it worked pretty well. So, like, I have this cousin. He has this dog that three boys are home, and the dog's tackling the kids, and he's licking them up and down. He thinks Corona time's the greatest thing going because every day all of his best buddies are all there.
Yeah.
He looks at me and she's like, "What the hell are you doing?" We all go through these phases of Corona time of like being pent up with somebody. Sometimes, oh yeah, this is great, and other times it's like, oh boy.
I was reading there's an article about pets where, they're used to you being away at a certain time. You can actually stress them. You'd think they'd want you to be around more.
No.
They said to try to keep your patterns similar because you can actually stress your animals out for being here. But my dogs like me being around, so I'm more worried about when we go back to normal and I leave, and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, But yeah, it's
Question,
funny how animals are that way.
Yeah, that's a good question about dogs. So cats, they'll be fine, but about dogs,
Yeah.
good one. Yeah. They're so used to that affection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I guess the next thing you'd need is an automated litter box as well, because I mean, the cat, she can eat, but
Yeah,
They have those now. You see those, right?
yeah, there are those. I don't have that though. I don't know how it works. Have you used that, Mike?
No. Well, it's the old school. Scoop it out, throw it away.
Yeah, that's what I use.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good system. Now, the good thing is cats are consistent. I forget what it's called. There's a biological term for an animal that always goes to the bathroom in the same place. So dogs are not like that, which is another great thing about a cat.
Mm-hmm. I have 2 dogs as well, so yeah.
Oh, raccoons are the same way. So yeah, the reason why I know this because my sisters they live down in Florida and they're having a raccoon problem, and the raccoon chose the swimming pool to go to the bathroom.
Oh,
so they have this whole family of coons they're trying to catch, and it's pretty. Probably not a good thing to talk about right now as we're eating guacamole. But
yeah, that would be that raccoon would have a short life, definitely. So are you going for the square one last?
Yeah, let's go to the last one here, the square one. I'm excited about it. It looked, just from the look, it looked the best one of the 4.
We know you're a big sports fan, Father Jay. What do you play? What do you do to keep active yourself? Like, what hobbies do you have? Do you exercise, or do you play sports, or what do you do?
Well, that's something that I miss. One of the differences between a diocesan priest and a religious is that we live in community as a religious. So 2 or 3 times a week, we'd play basketball, soccer, tennis. For diocesan priests, we are lazy bums. The average diocesan priest is 20 pounds overweight, couldn't walk a mile without dying, and it's just a heart attack away from death. Whereas a lot of the religious priests, since we live in community, we're always competing and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I miss that. There's a certain I guess you could say a loneliness in diocesan priesthood that you don't have in the religious community, because religious community, you come home at night and you're with guys and stuff like that and you're playing. Whereas here, I could come home with my cat. Now, obviously, I can Father Antoine. It's good. And so love sports. I don't play a lot of sports anymore. I used to play roller hockey and love street hockey. I got into hockey right before ice hockey got big. I always kind of wish I came in post Mario Lemieux. In terms of really getting into sports, but Mario was there when I was growing up. But at that point, Pittsburgh still hadn't made the hockey change that it had now. So
it's amazing how much it's changed in Pittsburgh, and where we're actually starting to get pros up through the system that they call them Marios. Mario's the Mario effect.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, no, it's excellent. Even here in Cranberry, Sydney donates all of this money to encourage women's hockey in this area. So they'll have girls come here. He pays for everything for them to try and play in a league and everything. It's just fascinating. I mean, that culture that Lemieux and Crosby and just that whole organization it puts upon giving back to the community.
I don't think
makes me a bigger hockey fan.
I agree. I don't think there's one athlete in Pittsburgh who's transformed the sports horizon here more than Mario Lemieux.
I agree.
Yeah.
And if we had the Mount Rushmore of sports figures on Mount Washington, Lemieux would absolutely be there.
I agree.
We
were so close to losing the team.
Yeah,
we were that close.
He made hockey legitimate in Pittsburgh and started a cycle of life, Lemieux, Yager, Crosby, Malkin, that has made this just an exciting way to play hockey and watch it.
Absolutely.
And he was the one who did it. He could easily, at 19, he was the greatest hockey player of his time. He could have gone anywhere. He could have said, no, I'm not going to play here.
Mm-hmm. I know.
He didn't come here. How cool was this? I said, wouldn't it be great to get a text message from God and this and that? And I said, get a text message from Mary Lemieux. Well, I preached this in a homily right around Christmas. And one of the people in my parish, she babysat for Lemieux's kids. So she called Mario and said, Mario, would you sign this Christmas card for Father Jay? So I have a Christmas card signed by Mario Lemieux.
So awesome.
That's fascinating. That's awesome.
That was awesome.
Sidney Crosby was watching, he was interviewed by, I think it was Ryan Whitney. He told a hilarious story about, Lemieux took him into his house when he started, and he lived, I don't know how many years with the Lemieux's family.
Years. Mm-hmm.
And he told the story on Lemieux for some reason encouraged him to sorry.
Is the avocado hitting you, Rob?
Yeah, I think it is. To get a dog. And Lemieux's like, you got to get a puppy. You can have it here. It's fine. So Sydney had a dog there. And for whatever reason, I think he had to step out or something. And when he came back, Lemieux was cleaning up Sydney's dog's poo. And he went in Lemieux's house. He's talking about how embarrassing of a moment that was. This dog just went on Lemieux's carpet, and and Mario was cleaning it up when he walked in. So,
But that's the type of guy Mario is.
yeah, he's awesome.
Like, I'm so sorry, but of the other sports, hockey players seem to be, and they're not perfect, but for the most part, they're more like gentlemen.
Oh, they are.
Overall, and it's probably a big generalization, but for the most part, you just like Sidney Crosby is one of the greatest hockey players in the world, and you don't hear him yapping the way Antonio Brown would, or what some of these jerk pirates do. It's just a totally different.
You're absolutely right. They do it on the ice. They take care of it on the ice, and then they're gentlemen off the ice. They're great.
No, hockey's my favorite sport.
By far.
I was watching the other night. I can't believe I binge watched this. It was the Caps against the Penguins. It was the first time Crosby and Ovechkin played. And I started watching. The Penguins were losing 4-0. I'm like, oh, I can't believe I'm going to rewatch. I hadn't seen them before. I watched that Penguin game. We're getting crushed. I thought it was just because it was a Crosby Ovechkin game. But then I Googled. I said, well, who won this game? And it said 5-4 Pens. I said, okay, now I'm watching it.
Exactly.
You're not investing the time if this doesn't come out right.
Investing into rewatching a game or watching a game if we lose.
Right.
All right, I didn't want to take you off course, but where did you put this versus the other? That's the last one, right?
Let's ask you this first. Which of the four do you think was the store-bought?
I would go for the third one. Is it a blue or a black Father J?
Okay. The third one with the colored marker on it.
That's the green? Is that the green one?
No. It's the third one in our sequence. So the first one was a blue dot. The second one, it has a black Father J.
Right.
On it.
This is the green marker. Yes.
Yeah, the green marker.
Okay. It looks blue to me.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He's colorblind.
So you think that's the store-bought? All right. So how would you rank the four then?
Yes.
I like the last one the best.
Okay.
And then
Wait, can you hold it up so we can see the container?
Yeah.
The square. Okay.
Square.
Yep.
Colored lid.
Okay.
Yep. That was your favorite?
Yeah. And then number 2 would be the second one we had. Do you need to see the container?
Black marker.
Black marker. Okay.
Wait. Hold on.
Green
Hold on.
marker. Yeah.
Sorry.
Black marker. Yep.
And then the first one we had would be number 3.
Okay.
And then obviously that whatever color that was would be the last.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So what is that? What is the?
What's the actual? Yeah. Tell me what the answers were.
All right, Lee. Answer the first question.
The first
which
one
was the restaurant. Was he right?
Oh, I don't know which one was the restaurant one.
I know which one the restaurant.
Buy
Okay.
the
Was
restaurant.
he right?
The dark blue labels are store bought.
Well, no, that doesn't help.
What are you talking about?
What does that mean?
He got the store bought one
Oh, the
correct.
one with the marker, with the colored marker, the green marker.
You
is
said
the
dark blue
store-bought.
label. That's not the right one.
No, this one. This one. Mine says Mikey, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's the one that was written on with a different color, not the black marker, the other marker.
Yeah.
No,
Exactly. No.
the one with the dark blue marker
Okay.
is store bought.
I thought it was black.
And where did he rank that one?
That was second for him.
No. Sorry. The store bought one I ranked last.
No.
No, I didn't.
No.
Okay.
The one with the green marker, I thought you marked last.
Yes.
Okay, that's true. Sorry.
I had no idea you were colorblind. I'm sorry.
No,
So yeah, I set you up for failure from the beginning.
So
So
the black marker one is the restaurant.
this is the restaurant one.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and we put that.
And you got that right.
We put that in second place,
okay.
right?
Right. Yes.
So the black marker one is in second place.
Okay.
Okay.
Good job on that.
And who made the last one? That was the best one.
The
That was
square
me.
Where? Good job for somebody.
ball. Jeez, the whiz.
No, it wasn't me. It was Angie. Angie made that.
Oh, Angie made it.
I watched.
Is she watching this live?
I would assume.
Angie, I'm really upset that you let Lee
Mm.
Claim
take
victory.
And I'm glad because it has the most amount of guacamole. So I actually finish this before we. Yeah.
So let's talk about what does your ideal guacamole have in it? So apparently, I was surprised. You said no onions.
Not a lot of onions. I don't like a lot of onions in it.
Okay, what does it have in it?
It has to have cilantro
Okay,
and lemon. Lemon is the key to a good guacamole.
so that's what I did. I was the blue dot. It's the first time I've ever made guac.
Yeah.
It required red onion, cilantro, lemon juice, and avocado. That's it.
Angie did not use lemon. She used lime.
I know, but the consistency of hers is good. It needed more lemon. They all have things that they lack.
Mhm.
Well, they all lack salt. You need a lot of salt and lemon juice.
See, I thought the store bought one was super salty. Like after first one
True.
was Rob's with the blue dot. That was actually my favorite
Yeah,
personally.
Okay.
That was my favorite because I got a big green pepper in mine.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, shocking. It was
Yeah,
delicious though.
That's jalapeno. It was a jalapeno.
It was very mild. Like,
Yeah, you're supposed to
super
seed
mild.
it. You had to seed it up.
Yeah.
Take the seeds
tastes-
out. It makes it mild.
It was so mild. Like it was so mild. It was just like a green pepper. Like no spice at all. But
Wow.
it was delicious. So that was my favorite. The store bought one was my least favorite because it was super salty.
Yeah.
And then the one my 14-year-old daughter made is my next favorite.
Oh, cool.
And then the last one, the square, I thought was a little smoky flavored. Where'd you get the smoke flavored?
Hope it wasn't pipe ash again, Lee.
I think I think it's a pepper. I think she put some type of pepper in it.
Yeah,
Oh, like a
No. She put it's avocado, red onion.
There's
Let me think back.
spot.
Tomatoes, little tomatoes.
Okay.
She sprinkled something in. Was it pepper? I don't know.
Like
the thing that makes me delighted
Don't
is
ask
I didn't get
I
sick
don't
from
know.
any of this. So that means I'm not allergic to avocados anymore.
There was no pipe ash. I know that.
Yeah, the last cookie competition we had, Father Jay, we were doing it was a biblical question and answer, right?
Yeah, right. So the question,
It's a
we had
game.
questions from Old Testament or New Testament, and you chose. And the cookies that I made had a clue in them.
Oh,
Oh yeah, they had a clue. All right.
So from the Old Testament story where sackcloth and ashes comes from, I had put some pipe ash in the cookies
smart.
to give
and
them
we ate them.
and they
Oh.
ate them.
Yeah. He told us afterward.
Yeah, I told
Yeah.
them.
So we've not trusted him very much since.
What did you guys put in your guacamole?
Yeah, that's what I want to know,
There's
Lee.
nothing offensive. That's why.
We're not
That's why I
going to
let
do
Andy
bad
make it.
juju with
Andy
Father
knows
Jay.
what
That's for sure. No bad juju.
right.
Well, before we go off, I want to let you guys know if you ever go to Mexico, you have to try escamoles. So and this is true. They actually make tacos with ants.
Mm.
A little bit like your locusts, like the whole St. John the Baptist routine. And honey's obviously be good, but it's kind of like a puree of ants, and it's a larvae of it. And what they used to do, especially, I think these larvae grew, I could be wrong, on the corn stalk, and they just put it all together and said, let's just eat them all.
Huh.
And so sometimes actually they're still kind of walking around, and you just you eat them right there, and delicious.
You like it? What's it closest to? Like something that we've eaten.
Well, first of all, the texture is more like a cottage cheese texture because it's like a larvae that's coming out. So it's an emerging insect that are in the corn. The reason why is because I think it's in the corn. So when they're cutting the corn and husking it and all that, they kind of just get in it. So it's just like, oh well, let's just stay here. And I don't know. I think I just had a lot of salsa and tequila, so I couldn't really tell you how it tastes. But just kind of
Sounds like something that would have been on the table at Pancot Palace with the snake surprise and
Yeah.
the chilled monkey brains.
It's a Mexico City
Temple
thing.
of Doom.
You won't find it in a lot of places, and it's a delicacy. So it's you have to go to
Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Father Jay.
Yeah, thank
This
you.
has been awesome.
Excellent.
And maybe if you ever want to come on again, we'll actually get some locusts and have a locust eating.
Well, that's what I'm
competition.
saying. Escamole, locust. That's the whole thing here.
Okay.
Hey, do we have one more minute?
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
So I just want to hear quickly what would come to your mind. How would you promote St. John the Baptist's feast day in June? We have a church named St. John the Baptist. It's June 24th. And it's a community that I'd love to just see get fired up for St. John the Baptist. What would be something that a person you would invite or a way to promote doing something at the church for the Feast of St. John the Baptist? Is there something that would come to your mind that would maybe intrigue you or to like think about, hey, if they did this, that would be kind of a cool way to draw people to the Feast of St. John the Baptist?
Like hair shirt giveaways?
There you go. Okay, I'll write that down. Hair shirt giveaway.
Giveaway.
I don't think that would attract people.
Okay.
But you need more like a speaker or something like that, or like a fair or what?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, what would you do to say you're me? Okay, June 24th. We'll probably still be in Corona time, but maybe online, do something like do an interview beforehand. Is there a person that you would interview? Would there be a giveaway you would do?
I wasn't thinking about Corona time because they do such wonderful food related festivals down there, pierogies and punchki and all that stuff like that. I was thinking you could do like locust shaped cookies with honey and stuff like that as sort of a food festival, a John the Baptist food festival. But in Corona time, that wouldn't work.
Or you maybe make it at home and then bring it as takeout or something. But that's a cool idea, like a honey locust cookie.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe they do honey pierogi. They love pierogies.
Or like baklava or something.
Yeah.
Who's the guy we had? Who's the guy we had that does the Penguins broadcast? He's Catholic. He came to the church and did a talk.
Rob King?
Not to our what is the name?
Rob King?
Oh, he's the one that does the. No, between the periods, he does the. What does he call when he does?
Jay Caulfield. Jay Caulfield.
Yeah, Jay Caulfield.
He's I think he's a member of St. John Paul, or at least
he is. Jay's telestrator.
I mean, the only thing I was thinking about him, people are in desperate need of sports, and having, somebody like him that could come up and talk, but also talk a little bit about sports at the same time. But his faith, I think that's always a big haul.
Brian Rust is also a parishioner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, my cousin stole him away from me. He got to do his wedding.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So real quickly, last summer, I told Betsy, our secretary at St. John and Paul, that I can't do destination weddings. She said, okay, fine. Brian West's girlfriend calls. Hey, I'd like to get married. You're a parish. And Betsy's like, okay, where's the marriage? Michigan. She didn't really, investigate the names or anything. And which was, she shouldn't. Oh, well, no, Father Day does not do this. So she gave her my a foundation that I run called Renew the I Do, and my cousin does a lot of the weddings for Renew the I Do. So she called there, and my cousin found out. He might have even answered the phone, but it was Brian Rust, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I'm all in. Tell me when." So my cousin texts me like a week or two before the wedding because he had kept this under. He goes, "Guess where I'm going next week?" I have no idea. Going to Michigan, and I'm going to be doing a wedding. And he goes, Sidney Crosby there, Mary Lemieux's there, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? And he goes, and that's your parishioner. I was so mad.
Oh my gosh.
Chris Conley. And he said it was fabulous. He starts off the homily because he actually played ice hockey. I never played ice hockey. He played Central Catholic. That's why I promised Brian Russ that I wouldn't brag about my hockey statistics. So I won't. I was a third liner in the JV team and had more penalty minutes than points, and then he went off on his homily.
Oh my gosh!
Sounds like the kind of thing you should take him to family court for.
Yes, that's a really good
one from you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, anyway, all right. My kitty cat is getting ornery here, but
thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, anytime you want, I'd love to jump back on. It's great.
You're awesome.
And and Father Jay's Exploring Catholicism programs can be found on the St. John and Paul YouTube or Facebook pages. And actually, there's a big one coming up tomorrow.
There you go.
Exploring Catholicism with Father Don Calloway, talking about consecration to Saint Joseph. Saint Joseph is a huge, huge hero of our faith that none of us know enough about, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this priest was a mafia drug dealer in Japan. And so he calls himself a surfer priest. He seems really interesting to get to know. If Don Calloway, if you want just a priest who's just got a crazy life, this is the kind of guy you want to just shout about. All right.
All right. Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
folks.
Father Jay.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a great evening.
God bless
You
you.
too.
You too.
God bless.
So Mike skipped out already, Rob.
I know. What's up with that? He
I could forget
doesn't
Father
know
Jay,
the
but-
routine.
But yeah, I don't know. He's sick of us already. Or maybe he
Yeah.
thought, he's on the same level as Father Jay. He's like, oh, the guest can leave, so I'm out too.
Fantastic show.
Yeah, nice job.
Good
Nice
job.
job, man.